Hello everybody, it's me, Albatross. I wanted to come on here and give you a quick update because, today is the day where they were going to arraign David and charge him and everything, and we just got done watching a press conference, and I wanted to go over some things that we learned that are actually new about this case, things that we did not know before that we do now. And also, his mugshot was released as well. That'll be on the next screen. But anyways, so the couple things that we learned. The first thing that we have learned was apparently David was being investigated before this disappearance, aka murder, even took place, according to the district attorney. Now, he was really vague on what exactly he was being investigated for, but he did make it clear that this investigation did involve Celeste while Celeste was alive, and that Celeste was a witness in this case, and that was like another one of the charges, was that he murdered a witness to an investigation. Like I said, I'm not really sure what this investigation was about before all of this, but I'm sure, hopefully we'll find out in the coming days, or today, hopefully. Another thing that we have learned is his motive. The motive, according to the district attorney, was that Celeste, whether directly or indirectly, threatened David and David's lucrative musical career. That's according to the district attorney. Another thing that he wasn't really specific about, he was very vague. It's like, what do you mean that she threatened his music career? Like, did she threaten to expose him for messing around with her? Did she threaten to, like, what exactly? What was she threatening? He didn't say. I'm not really sure. Hopefully we find out. But one concrete fact, at least, well, I don't know, he makes it sound concrete, so I'm assuming he has some evidence that will prove this. But according to the district attorney of Los Angeles, they narrowed down the day that Celeste was murdered. And he claims it was April 23rd, 2025. Which is a bombshell, in my opinion. Because, for a couple reasons. But one big, giant reason is his album release. This is what makes me, and I did a video on this before I even knew this date, but it's what made me suspicious that this entire situation somehow or the other connects to his career with UMG. And now this kind of is making me feel that way even more. His album was released on April 24th, and Celeste was murdered April 23rd. That is, and like I said, I didn't even know that they had narrowed down that date before I had even suggested that. And this is all my opinion and speculation. Obviously, I don't know for sure if UMG or Interscope was involved in this, like, directly. But I think indirectly, maybe. Even if they had no idea who Celeste was. But I don't think that's the case either, though. Because there's, like I said in my last video, there's lots of evidence pointing to the fact that UMG or Interscope or Mogul Vision had some sort of knowledge about this murder. So, and another thing I'd like to point out was, before we get back into the April 23rd thing, another thing I'd like to point out was that at this press conference, the district attorney, I didn't appreciate him or the police chief's attitude. Like, they were very, like, defensive and upset with the online, sleuths and podcasters. They were like, despite everyone claiming that we were just taking our time and trying to cover stuff up, and despite the fact that everyone was criticizing us, it was really gaslighty, and I didn't really appreciate that. Because, to be fair, it did take y'all forever. You all came out and gave some dumb excuses. Like, well, what if she overdosed? We don't have any evidence that it was a direct murder. It was totally disrespectful and insulting. And they literally just tried to walk all that back and, like, point at us for noticing it and, like, blame us. And no, that was bullshit. I didn't really appreciate that. And the district attorney kind of leaned into that as well. Yeah, I didn't appreciate none of that. But anyways, back to the date, April 23rd. This has kind of, like, strengthened my opinion that, yeah, I mean, sure, David probably is, like, kind of like a baby borderline serial killer. I mean, no denying that it takes a special type of person to actually go through with a horrendous crime such as this. But I'm leaning more and more towards the opinion that this was in exchange for something, that this was a literal, like, sacrifice to get his career up and going. Like, you can't, like, make this stuff up. Like, I mean, in my opinion, like, come on. His album release, April 24th, and the night before, the girl, that his underage girlfriend, gets murdered. Like, what? Now, the actual specific charge, it sounded like it was first-degree murder, he said, with special circumstances. The special circumstances being, there was a couple of them. Like, one was lying in wait. That's an actual legal term from what it's... I think it insinuates premeditation. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But I think that's what it means. But yeah, so they did charge him with... Or they said that they're going to charge him with first-degree murder. That more charges were coming. And once again, he got into this kind of like a defensive... This defensive mode with everybody. That was totally unnecessary, in my opinion. He was like, despite the reports to the contrary, the district attorney's office, the police, and the medical examiner's office all get along just fine. It was like, oh my God, dude. Like, you could have just left that out. Most of us had already forgotten about that little disagreement between y'all until you brought it up again. Like, now we're thinking about it. You shouldn't have even brought it up. But anyway, in case you all forgot, that the medical examiner actually, like, went out of their way to report, like, a couple months back on the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, what did they report? I think they were actually, like, confirmed that she was dismembered, because it was always, it was kind of turned into this, like, really, like, duplicitous back and forth. Like, the police and them were saying, like, no one ever said she was dismembered, even though they did. And then the medical examiner kind of confirmed it. It was a kind of a weird thing. It was a shady little back and forth between all of them, if I'm remembering it correctly. But like I said, I almost totally forgot about it until the district attorney just brought it up again. But so thanks for reminding us of that. I'm going to have to look back into that and see what that whole thing was about, because he kind of piqued my interest again. But anyway, so those are all the new things that we learned. And just to show you all where David's headspace was at around on those dates of April 23rd and April 24th, let's look at his Twitter page. Because, like, you know, he's got, like, you know, like, none of his tweets were, that I can see, were erased. But, so April 23rd, he's already talking about his deluxe album and whatnot. And then April 24th, it was the day his album finally dropped. And the district attorney is saying that the date of April 23rd, Celeste Rivas went to his house on her own accord in Hollywood Hills. He was lying in wait for her. And that was the last time anyone, like, you know, according to them, that was the last time she was alive. And I just think it's, you know, it's no coincidence, in my opinion, that the next day his album dropped. Like, in my mind, you can't separate those two. Like, and I think the way that they're angling this is that maybe Celeste was threatening to expose him for, I don't know, it kind of sounded a little weird. I don't know if I necessarily buy it or not. It kind of feels like that they really want to make sure that UMG and Interscope and they're all covered, because, you know, they obviously work with the judicial people in Los Angeles, obviously, because they're huge criminals, so they, in my opinion, so they work with them. So in my opinion, that's what I think took them so long. I mean, and I could be wrong. I'm not there. I'm not from California. I've never been to California. But I've heard lots of very, very questionable things about specifically Los Angeles and their system that is very corrupt, very backwards, and that everyone knows everybody in that world. Yeah. And they're coming out and saying that, like, I don't know, it's just a lot of stuff to consider. What were they investigating him for before Celeste was even went missing, or before she was even murdered? Like, what was that about? Like, I don't know. I hope we find out. But anyways, those are the updates as of right now. I'm sure there'll be more by the time I get off here. There's probably more updates right now as I'm talking. But if I have to, I'll come back and make another video. But anyways, I hope you all stay safe. Justice for Celeste and her family. Because y'all remember how they were like dragging her family through the mud? Like they were just minding their own business, trying to find out what was going on with their daughter. And there was all these people saying, well, why was she a runaway to begin with? What was she running away from? It was horrible. It was horrible. People just making nasty assumptions that they had no business making. And I'm getting sick of that. Everyone wants to blame everybody but the ones who are actually hurting people. And enough's enough. Enough's enough. But anyways, I hope you all have a good day.